Oh, hello! My name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. It is the happiest of days of the month. It is Haul Day. It is my day of reckoning with my truly unruly book buying complication that I have to my life, where I feel the need to buy books just all the time and fill my space with them and have to figure out what to do with them, etc., etc. I'm gonna spare you my usual hand wringing because I'm just so excited about the books that I got this month. Like, I got some great things. I got some fucking sweet deals too, so that helps me not feel as bad about it. Also, by the way, it is, aside from reading, my hobby is like collecting books. So like I spend a lot of time trying to find deals and stuff, and I talk about ones, particularly good ones I find on Instagram. So if you watch my Insta stories, you can stay up on any like audio and ebook deals in particular that I stumble across. So just FYI there. But anyway, let's get into this. Let's start with my last book outlet order for a while. Okay, so I got actually 6 things in that order, but I'll talk about the other 2 here in a different category. But here are 4 books that I did get in my last book outlet order. The first is FLANEUSE, which is Women Walk the Street in Paris, New York, Tokyo, Venice, and London. And I think this is just about like women walking in space and like what it means to be a woman and like fashion and stuff. I've heard good things about this. I kind of am sad because I thought that this was not available as audio for my library, and I just realized it is, and that's probably the form I'd prefer to have it. But if I really like it, I'll be glad to have a copy. Then I also got ANGELMAKER by Nick Harkaway, which is a book that I've heard a lot of really good things about from one particular blogger who I like to kind of look to for book recommendations. So I've not really seen this at the used bookstore often, and I thought this might incentivize me to get to it a little faster, even though I do have it available at the library. I think it's essentially like speculative fiction, I don't know, steampunky or like weird genre bendy stuff, and that tends to be something that I really like. So I'm excited about that. And then I got Plotting and Writing Suspense Fiction from Patricia Highsmith. You know, I figure she would know, and the project that I'm working on right now has a lot of suspense elements, so I thought that this might be helpful. And then finally, I got The Three Body Problem by, I'm gonna guess the way you say this name is Cixin Liu. I'm not totally sure, but this is like one of the all-time bestsellers ever. It's the first in a SFF work, and this apparently is from a Chinese author, and it is like one of the, like, it's a huge book in China. Amazon bought the rights to this for I think like $1 billion to adapt it, something crazy. So anyway, I'm just curious about it basically, since it's such a big book, and it is translated by Ken Liu, who I've heard really good things about as well. So yeah, kind of just intrigued by this. Okay, next let's talk about some used bookstore finds. So first I have All the President's, no, sorry, not All the President's Men, All the King's Men by Robert Penn Warren. I've been thinking about this book because I did my Booker movie of All the President's Men, which is like one of my all-time favorite books, and it gets its title as an allusion to this novel, All the King's Men. And I don't think I've ever actually read this book. I know a lot about it, and I've like read about the book, if that makes sense, but I don't think I've ever actually read it. So, and I've heard that it's wonderful, so I thought I would give myself the experience of that. Sadly, I've been having a hard time finding, because I was going to get a hardback copy, and I've been having a hard time finding a hardback copy that is not the restored edition. And so like, beware, there is a restored edition that is somebody who went in Robert Penn Warren's papers and like excavated notes or like earlier drafts of this, and I just like, I'm not here for that sort of post-mortem editorializing or like revamping of books. Like, I just think it's like, I don't understand. I guess maybe it's an interesting project. I don't know. I just think it's disrespectful to the author. Anyway, all that to say, I think kind of the conclusion I'd reached was like, I'm gonna probably have to get this in paperback, so I was definitely glad to get it for only $3 of trade at the used bookstore. And then similarly, for only $4.50 in trade at the used bookstore, I got The Likeness by Tana French. This had come back onto my radar because Olive at A Book Olive had mentioned this as a read-alike title for The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And I had actually, like, I pretty much decided I'm not gonna finish the series that this is in. I read the first book, In the Wood, I don't remember if it's plural, and enjoyed it, but was like, I don't think this is gonna work for me as a series. But this is the second book in that series, so I'm not going to be missing anything, and I'm intrigued enough by the premise that I'm at least going to read this one, and then I may reevaluate if I'll continue in the series as a whole. And then finally, a book that I read and enjoyed earlier this year is Shelter in Place by Nora Roberts. This was her standalone thriller of the year, and this is essentially like a brand new copy. Like you cannot tell that this has even been read, and I decided that I wanted to go ahead and grab it just because the ebooks for Nora Roberts so rarely go on sale. So if this particular title goes on sale for her at some point, then I may go ahead and convert this to an ebook, because that's probably the form I'd prefer to have it in. But for such a nice, you know, hardback copy new that I didn't pay any cash for, I was like, yeah, for now, like, I'm happy to have this, because it was an interesting book and an interesting, I think, development in her as a standalone thriller or suspense writer. Okay, guys, now we're like getting into the real good stuff. I'm excited about this. Okay, so first up, I have a pre-order. The next little bit is all going to be Amazon. I have a pre-order of DRAGONSHADOW from Elle, Katharine White. This is a sequel to her retelling of Pride and Prejudice that is Pride and Prejudice but with dragons, which is called Heartstone, which is like one of my favorite retellings ever, and a book that I have grown in my enjoyment of even more over time. So I'm very excited for this sequel. This is the second, and then there's going to be a third that's going to come out next fall. So super pumped about this. And speaking of exciting fantasy sequels, we've got Grey Sister by Mark Lawrence. So this is the sequel to Red Sister, which I read earlier this month, or I read earlier in November. Really enjoyed more than I've enjoyed immersive fiction in a while. I thought it was just, I mean, I've talked about it in my wrap up, I assume. So anyway, but I really enjoyed that book and wanted to go ahead and grab the sequel. The third book, I believe, comes out this coming April. So, you know, 4 or 5 months from now. So I definitely want to be caught up by the time we get there. And yeah, I think there's also, actually, I want to say that there might be a novella coming out in January. I need to double check that. Anyway, very excited for this because I really enjoyed the first book. I also got The Witch Elm by Tana French. So 2 Tana Frenches in this haul. I got this. This is out in the US. I don't believe it's out until next year in the UK and Europe, but it is out here in the States. And it's a standalone mystery from her, and I'm excited for that. The premise sounds really cool. There's like a skull and a witch elm on like their family property. Sounds super cool. Definitely excited to read that one. Then I got AMBERLOUGH by Lara, Elena, Donnelly. So this is, I think, sort of like alternative history / like maybe steampunky or fantasy-ish, set in like a 1920s or 30s Germany. And I'm just really excited about this. I don't know a lot about it other than a lot of people whose taste I respect have enjoyed it. So I'm excited to read this. And I decided this month to order, by the way, more like kind of riskier books from Amazon, because I did finally get a payout from YouTube. So thank you. I monetized essentially just to help me in the algorithm, but any money that I ever will get from it will go back into this channel. And I decided that for this one, I would buy some books that I would maybe not normally take a risk on in terms of actually buying a physical copy of them. So this was kind of one of those. So I'm excited about that. SAWKILL Girls by Claire Legrand. This kind of falls in that same category. I started reading this and realized it's not the book that I thought it was in terms of like what it actually, like what its genre is. So I put it aside because the writing was good and I think that I will ultimately like it. It just wasn't what I was expecting. So I didn't want to like not like it basically because I just wasn't in the right frame of mind for it. So anyway, I'm excited to come back to this because like I said, the writing was strong. It's a YA mystery thriller, supernatural something. We'll see how it actually ends up panning out. But yeah, so I got this one. I got and read MONSTRESS by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takata. So this was another kind of surprise. I talked about this in my what I'm reading now for November, so you can see my fuller thoughts there. But I had some problems with this, but I'm excited to continue in the series. I think actually the second book is on order. You'll see it in next month's haul, so definitely we'll continue with this. And then finally, another one that I kind of took a risk on just because I'd been seeing such good things about it and I kind of know what the subject matter is and I just think it's really relevant and heartbreaking and I just want to read it. I've heard great things about it. And that is A Heart and a Body in the World by Deb Caletti. And this is a YA, I don't know how much is actually, I think somebody accidentally told me what this was about and maybe it's supposed to be a secret, but let's just say that it's about a girl who is struggling to deal with something that happened to her that is like so relevant to our current cultural moment. And I'm really excited because it sounds like it's handled with a lot of sensitivity and depth. So I'm excited for this to be a YA contemporary that I read and enjoy, because that doesn't tend to be my thing, but I'm excited to get to this one. Okay guys, this is the real exciting section. So this is a section of books I've added to collections that I am collecting. So, you know what? Let's start with Agatha Christie and go from there. At the used bookstore, I found another entry in this kind of Bantam faux leather series of Agatha Christie collection, and this is Murder in 3 Acts. Not especially a one that I love from her, but it's one I didn't have, and it was $3.50 in trade. Thank you. I actually had a lot of them this time, but most of them were ones that I have, and I need to do a better job of keeping a list in my phone of which ones I do already have, because sometimes I think I'm missing out. Anyway, that's a side note for me. But yes, so I added that to my Agatha Christie collection. And then there were also 2 facsimile editions on Book Outlet for random reasons. I don't know why. So I got Dumb Witness, which again is not necessarily a favorite of mine from her, but is like a solid Poirot, like a solid early Poirot. Actually, the last Hastings we get until Curtain. So it's notable for that reason. Also, look at the cute puppo. It's so cute. And then very excitingly, I got The Murder of Roger Ackroyd in the facsimile edition. Now, I don't want to like tell tales on people or like judge anyone, but like this woman, I think, definitely looks like maybe it's her first time up in drag. Like, this is the cover art is interesting, and I kind of love it for that reason. So anyway, this is obviously arguably the best book she ever wrote, a lot of people think. This is a great Christie, so definitely glad to have it in this facsimile edition, and at 40% of what I would normally have paid for it, so like that too. Then I have 3 new editions of my Everyman's Library collection. So if you don't know, my primary collection, if you cannot tell from the books behind me, are my Penguin Clothbound Classics. Like, that is my favorite thing to collect in books, and like, sit tight, we'll get there. But I also, for classics that don't come in that edition, my kind of backup one is Everyman's Library, because I also think that this is it's a really nice edition. They look nice on the shelves, but they also, I think, part of what I like about the Penguins is that they're very readable, and I also find that to be the case for the Everyman's Library editions. They have nice page quality, you know, they have like a little ribbon in them, like they're nice books. And for classics, those are ones that I'm interested in investing in, because I want them to be books that I have forever, basically. So anyway, 3 installments. I did already have the Moonstone by Wilkie Collins, but it was just like a random copy I'd gotten at the used bookstore. So now I have it in the edition I want to. I also love this front cover of it, but I'm hoping I can get to read this by the end of the year, because I got halfway through it once and then got distracted and didn't finish. Anyway, so that's with the black spine. And then the 2 with the red spine that I actually got from Book Depository. Ordered them a while ago. As we know, Book Depository, you know, is like the wind. You just never know when it will come or go. It's hard to say. But I got 2 from Book Depository. So one is Madox Ford's The Good Soldier. This is a World War I kind of like modern classic that I would really like to read. I've heard great things about it. I'm very intrigued by it. So it's not one that I previously read, but definitely one that I want to read. And then I have One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich by Alexandra Solzhenitsyn, I think is how you say that name. This was one that I like but don't love. I would like to read the Gulag Archipelago at some point, but this is definitely like a very important and impactful read, and something that is very relevant, I think, in our current political climate. So for that reason, I felt like, you know what, it is good to have it on hand. I had like a crappy little paperback version, so this is basically a conversion book. Okay, and then we've arrived at that special time in the video where we always build up to, and that is the additions to my Penguin Clothbound Classics. So this month I had 1 that went on mega sale, so that's why I bought it. 2 that I forgot that I'd pre-ordered but was excited to see show up, and then the 2 that I'd planned on getting just with points and where they were priced at. So the one that went on mega sale, this is normally on Amazon, usually this is retailing around $22-ish. Jabberwocky and Other Stories by Lewis Carroll. It's normally retailing around there, and it went on sale for $11.99. So I was like, girl, I got you. So I went ahead and snatched this up. This is not one that I have particularly fond memories of. I know that some people read this as a kid and I didn't, so maybe someday I'll get to it, but I will say I absolutely love the dragons on it. it's beautiful. I like it from that perspective. And then 2 pre-orders that I had, one of which I already own a version of, so The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. I do love the cover. It's green with this little dude falling. I already have like the complete short stories in a hardback bound form. This is like a compilation of some of his most famous ones, but definitely not all. So I will certainly be keeping my completed version because I love those short stories and I want them all. But this is a beautiful edition. And actually, I think this would be a great starting place for someone. So gift idea this Christmas, if somebody's interested in starting Sherlock Holmes, I think this is a nice sampling. Also, it's in red and green, so Christmas appropriate in that respect. And then The Mayor of Casterbridge by Thomas Hardy. We got a nice bull on there. You know, real talk here, I've only ever read one Thomas Hardy. We're about to look at the one Thomas Hardy I have read. Wasn't that impressed with it, but Penguin Clothbound has like a hard on for him because this is like the 3rd, I mean, considering the number of things they have in their collection, they have 3 Thomas Hardy. That seems like a lot, but anyway. So at some point I will read this. I'm hoping that I will like Thomas Hardy better as an adult than I did as a kid. We'll see. So this was the other pre-order that came in. And then the 2 that I had planned to get were Tess of the D'Urbervilles and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. So Tess of the D'Urbervilles is the Thomas Hardy that I have already read. Like I said, I wasn't that impressed with it when I read it. However, I may like it better as an adult just because I think some of it I was like, I don't understand why this is so sad. Like, why am I reading this super sad, depressing book? So maybe I would like that better as an adult. I don't know. Now that life has been even harsher to me, I don't know. Anyway, so this is a reread for someday, but I do love the wheat pattern, very appropriate. And then The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Again, we've talked about this before. I'm not a very good American and I don't really tend to like American literature all that much. This included. When I read this in high school, I was like, not really my thing. Not even one that I particularly want to reread, to be totally honest with you. Mark Twain is just, yeah, he's just not ever done a lot for me. Life on the Mississippi. I read that of my own volition, guys. That wasn't something that I had to read for school. I chose to read Life on the Mississippi, and God help me. What was I thinking? Oh, man. I'm sure it's a masterpiece. I'm sure this is also a masterpiece too, and I'm, you know, it's a cool cover or whatever. I'm, you know, collecting these all at this point, so regardless of how I feel about them, it's going to be on my shelf, but yeah, not my favorite, but very excited to have all 5 of those. And guys, I'm actually getting pretty, like, I'm rounding the bend on catching up on Penguin Clothbounds, the ones that are currently published. So like, I may soon be in the position where I'm just looking for the new releases, which would be like exciting. So yeah, those are the books that I got in November. Not even all of them because I'm actually filming this a week before November is early, but I'll just roll all of those into December. We'll see what December is like in theory because it's like holiday time. I might be getting a lot of books. I did order a lot of things with Black Friday and whatnot, and I anticipate that there will also be some book deals happening into December and maybe even into early January. So definitely keep an eye on that. That's something, you know, Barnes & Noble and independent bookstores have really good deals this time of year, as well as like bigger retailers like Amazon. I placed a Powell's order that's not here yet that will come in December that I got 25% off of on Black Friday. So that was great. Like there's a lot of deals this time of year if you are looking to specifically get some books that maybe are a little pricey or fancier than you would normally want to, you know, not want to spend that money on it. Now is a good time of year to kind of look for that stuff. So anyway, I think that will do it for my book haul. If I'd included my audio and ebook picks, this would be even longer because there was a lot of good sales, but that was all my physical books anyway. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. And I think that will do it. I hope you're having a really lovely day, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.